So that's my fabric folded into two. Marked the wrong side, so I'm cutting it out my half or my quarter hip measurement plus 2 inches, and then an extra 2 inches for stitching allowance. So the length of the top will be 22. I'm marking that out, so this is going to be 22 inches by 15 inches, and then I'll cut the whole rectangle out of the fabric so I can handle it easily. So I'm going to be cutting two pieces of this for front and back. So excess is gone off. I'm now going to do my constructional lines, my neck, shoulder, across chest, bust, waist and hip lines. Please refer to my video on drafting the bodice block to follow keenly on how to draft the bodice block if you're a beginner. So I'm done with the neck, the shoulder, the across chest. Now I'm moving to the bust line. I'm reducing the bust line by 1 inch because it's a sleeveless dress. I want a small armhole. So that's my bust line, and then I'm going to my waistline. I'm using my shoulder to waist measurement to locate my waistline, which is 16. I mark that out, and then I'll move to the hem, 22, length of 22, and then mark it out. Mark the 22 out. So that is done now. Neck, shoulder, across chest, bust, waist and hip lines. I'm going to now start drafting the main block. I'm starting with the neckline. I'm drafting a very basic block. Neckline 3 by 3. I curve, and then my shoulder 5 inches slanted from the neck to the shoulder, my half across chest measurement here, and then my quarter bust plus 2 inches. The 2 inches is not for stitching allowance, it's for ease because the dress has no opening, so it has to be free. The stitching allowance will come outside. So I'm moving on to the waist now, quarter waist plus 2 inches for ease, and then on the hemline, quarter hip plus 2 inches for ease. I'm now going to connect the side seams. When that is done, I'm going to reduce my shoulder and reduce my neckline. I want a small shoulder, so I'll go in 2 inches from the shoulder and recreate a new armhole line. I'm reducing the span of my shoulder. I want a very small shoulder, so I've reduced it from the armhole area. So that's my new armhole I'm creating, and then I'm going to take the neckline in also by 1 inch. I'm going to open it up a bit, so 1 inch from the shoulder and then 1 inch downwards. I'm creating a new neckline, so the old one or the shaded part will no longer be part of the garment. The new lines I created will be what I'm going to be using. It's always good to draft your original block and then do your modifications on it later. I'm going to cut it out now and place it on the back piece to cut it out. I'm going to cut both pieces the same. So I'm going to cut it out now, and then I'll mark the neckline area where the strips are going to be. Now I'm using 2.5 inches around the neckline to the shoulder. I'm going to mark it all round like a circle. So the strips will be 3 inches long, but I'm marking the cutout portion as 2.5 because we need seam allowance also. So I've marked the 2.5. I'm shaping it out, and I'm going to separate the section off from the main body. Now I'm going to use the cut off piece, put it on a brown paper, and then cut out sort of a pattern. Fold the paper into two and make sure center line of the cutout piece and center line of the paper matches. So I pin it up and then I fold the paper into two because I want a double piece or double pieces of this cutout portion, one for the front and one for the back. So once I pin up, I will fold the paper into two and then mark out my stitching allowances at the outer edge. I'm not going to add stitching allowances to the neckline area. I'm only adding stitching allowance to the outer edge, because that's where we are going to do the joining back to the body. So 1/2 inch all right, and then I trim it off, trim the excess off, or cut out the shape. So like I said, I'm not adding any allowance to the neckline area. It's only the outer edge. So I'm going to cut out on the marked line for allowance. Always remember that you need a double piece or double pieces, one for the front and one for the back. So fold the paper into 2 and then cut it out. So, and that's exactly what I'm doing. That's the shoulder area, and this is the neckline area I'm cutting out. Done with it now. I'll open it up so we see what we have. This is the neckline area. So I unpin and then open it up. So this is what we have. There's the front. We are going to lay the pieces on. What I'm going to do now is to notch the positions where I want the strips to be. I want some uniformity. So I'm notching at the outer edge, and I also notch at the neckline area, so I can have the pieces placed, or the strips placed, at the same positions on both pieces. So I mark the outer edge and then mark or notch the neckline area, so it will be easy when I'm placing the strips. I know exactly where to place it. I don't have to do any tape measuring again. So this is what it's going to look like when it's all notched. I'm preparing my strips now, and then I'm going to cut it out in 3 inches length and then do the arrangements on the paper. So that's 3 inches I'm cutting out, and then I'm going to cut a number of pieces off camera. Now I'm arranging the strips on the paper according to the way I did the notching. So I look at the position of the notch, and then I just place the strip there and stitch it over close to the neckline. When I'm done, I'll also stitch the outer edge, stitch it or secure it at the outer edge also. So this is it. This is the front. As you can see, I stitched around the neckline, and then I stitched around the outer edge to secure it. So we have front and back now. We're going to join it to the body now, insert it to the body. So always match the center line. So for the stitching, you're going to stitch from the center towards the right, and then from the center towards the left. Goes under the machine now. Like I said, you always start from the center towards one side of it, and then from the center towards the other side. So I'm joining the 2 pieces together for the front. When I'm done, I'll do same for the back, and then we'll be ripping the paper off after we've joined the shoulder. So you go gently, because it's a curved area. You have to really take your time to match the seams together, and then make sure everything is balanced. So like I said, when everything is done, I'm going to join the shoulder together, front and back at the shoulder points, and then we can rip the paper off it. I've joined from center to the left hand side. I'm joining the other side now. I'm done with that now. I'll do same for the back. This is what it's looking like now. I'm going to do the same thing for the back off camera, and then we can see what to do. Now I'm done with that. I have some crossway strips that I'm going to be using to bind the neckline. Again, please, I have a video on edge finishing, so you can watch the edge finishing video and then see how to go about binding your raw edges. So I've joined my shoulder now. I'm going to bind the neckline. I'm working from the wrong side. I first attach the strip to the wrong side, and then I stitch it all around the neckline and then overlap where I started from. When I'm done, I'm going to turn it to the right side and then stitch it. So please refer to my video on edge finishing to get detailed instructions on how to cut the crossways strips and how to apply your strips, how to fold it, how to press it, and how to stitch it in position. I'm done with applying the crossway strip. Now you can see I did a little bit of overlapping at the beginning and at the end there. Turn it to the right side now. I'm going to press it into position like this off camera, and then I'll be doing the stitching. So I'm done with the pressing and I'm stitching, doing the final stitching of the binding on the neckline. So I'm going to go all around. Make sure the stitching also holds the binding at the back, because we are going to rip the paper off. So if it's not secure, you're going to have problems. Now that I'm done, the paper can go off, and then we can see the beauty of our style. It's not difficult at all. You just need a little patience, and that's it. We have our stripped pieces. I'm going to top stitch around the seam to make it lie flat, and then off camera I'm going to bind the armholes so we can then finish the garment. I'm doing my top stitching now. Top stitch the seam towards the body area. I'm using 1/4 inch to top stitch the seam down, so it doesn't appear in between the gaps. I'm binding the armhole now. I'm using the crossway strip as a facing. I'm done with binding the armhole. I'm introducing my measurements now. So your required measurements plus 2 inches for ease, and then mark out and stitch. When you are done, you press it. You press your seams flat, and then that will be it. I hope you're going to have fun